Booted feet clacked on a wood stage as Anthony Simpson gingerly entered the lecture hall, spotlights blaring, scars from the Cation Wars still evident across his wrinkled face. The eager alien students stared as Anthony croaked, 800,000 years ago, humanity went extinct. 800,000 years later, we awoke, and the galaxy quaked in regret and fear. Anthony pulled up archival footage on the hall's holoscreens. Simpson's fingers strained as he tabbed over footage of human colonies thriving across the stars. The footage showed the settlement of Kepler 452b, over 100,000 human colonists sweating and dying under twin suns to build a human foothold in the cosmos. At the colony's groundbreaking, their leader Jacob Thompson declared the planet humanity's new cradle amongst the stars. The slide changed. Now it showed a titanic alien fleet, bristling with weapons emerging from warp portals in the sky over the colony. At the fleet's heart squatted a command dreadnought, crewed by the vicious Cations and commanded by the bloodthirsty feline zealot Admiral Murloc. Murloc's fleet dwarfed the human freighters and shuttles. The admiral sneered at the colonists, declaring the planet the sovereign territory of the Cation Empire, demanding their immediate surrender and evacuation. Human soldiers scrambled to bunkers and spider holes as Murloc's landing ships blotted out the sky. Thousands of Cation infantry poured out, fanning into forests and mountains to hunt the fleeing colonists. The humans' refusal, led by Thompson, sparked a brutal guerrilla war. Humans launched midnight raids on Cation camps, lobbing homemade bombs into their barracks. In one ambush, a group of miners led by a demolition expert named Michael Reynolds used explosives to collapse a series of tunnels as a Cation battalion marched through. The blast entombed hundreds of yowling soldiers under megatons of rubble. Murloc ordered horrific reprisals, firebombing hospitals and executing prisoners. But the colonists clung on desperately, bleeding the Cation forces white. Anthony leaned forward on his cane. The siege of Kepler dragged for weeks, the survival of human colonization across the galaxy in grave doubt. If the Cations defeated and scattered the colony, they would go on to crush humanity's other fledgling settlements. Our species would be stillborn, suffocated in its galactic cradle. Kepler was our first defiant stand, and so much hinged upon it. But those 100,000 colonists held fast, facing down a ruthless empire 1,000 times their size. Anthony's voice quivered as he continued. But the Cations' superior numbers and technology were too much, even for the determination of the human defenders. The felines unleashed a hellish orbital bombardment, raining plasma bombs and kinetic rods down upon the colony. The blasts flattened settlements, leaving nothing but smoldering craters. Thousands of civilians were incinerated in the blink of an eye. Governor Thompson stared at the mushroom clouds blooming on the horizon and the enemy dropships swarming the sky. He knew the battle was lost, but rather than surrender, he decided to gamble everything on a secret plan to preserve his people, the colony's classified cryogenic vault, buried deep underground. 5,000 survivors could ride out the invasion in cryosleep and awaken to continue the human race and its resistance. Thompson ordered an immediate evacuation to the cryo chamber. As colonists rushed into the vault, he gathered every soldier he could spare to defend its blast doors against the Cation assault. Michael Reynolds, hero of the tunnel bombings, was among the brave few who volunteered to hold the line. The Cations surged against the defenders, hissing and howling war cries. Murloc himself led the charge, power armor gleaming and plasma sword flashing as he cut down humans left and right. The colonists fought like lions, making the enemy pay for every inch in blood. Rifles cracked, grenades boomed, and the cries of the dying filled the air. But one by one the humans fell. Thompson caught a plasma bolt to the chest and crumpled. Reynolds, last man standing, held his finger on the blast door controls. With his life's blood pouring out of a dozen wounds, he sealed the doors as a Cation warrior pounced, buying time with his final breath. Anthony paused, voice heavy with emotion. Thompson, Reynolds, all the defenders at their sacrifice ensured that 5,000 humans would live on. An act of defiance and faith in the face of certain annihilation. Simpson fast-forwarded 800,000 years. Kepler 452b endured eons of seismic upheaval. Quakes rattled the cryovault. Stasis pods flickered and failed. Life support strained but held, safeguarding the 5,000 frozen colonists. He pulled up grainy footage from the vault's security cameras. A stasis pod hissed open in a darkened chamber. A grizzled hand groped out, followed by a scarred, wiry body in a tattered uniform. It was Alexander Novak, veteran of the Kaitian Wars, the first to awaken. He wobbled to his feet, legs rubbery, frost rimming his beard. Novak wrenched a door open, servos groaning. He stumbled down shadowy halls lined with pods, each containing a slumbering colonist. He pounded a fist on the sealed entrance of the vault's central chamber. "Hey, anyone in there? Open up!" Silence. Then a voice crackled over the intercom. "Who's there? Identify yourself." Lieutenant Alexander Novak, Colonial Security Forces, now open the damn door. The door squealed open. Novak pushed through to find a cluster of newly awakened colonists huddled around a flickering holotable. They looked to him, wide-eyed, shivering in their cryo suits. What's going on? How long were we out?" a woman asked. Novak shook his head. "Hell if I know. Last thing I remember, the Kaitians were swarming the cryo entrance. Thompson, he and the others stayed behind, held them off while we evacuated." A pained silence fell over the group as they remembered the sacrifice of their comrades. Novak slammed a fist on the table, jaw clenched. "We're not going to let their deaths be in vain. This is our colony, our home. We're taking it back from those fucking cats." The colonists nodded grimly and began taking stock of their supplies and equipment. In the armory they found racks of advanced weapons, plasma rifles, powered armor, exosuits to enhance their strength and speed. They started training, honing their bodies and skills, preparing for the fight ahead. Novak pored over the colony's historical archives, learning all he could of the Kaitians and the present state of Kepler 452b. The enemy had industrialized the planet, enslaving the native fauna with their superior technology. But they'd grown complacent in their dominion, never expecting the human resistance to rise from the grave. "We'll show them the error of their ways soon enough," Novak growled. "Humanity's done hiding. It's time we reminded the galaxy who we are." Anthony continued his tale, his voice gruff yet passionate. Armed with advanced weaponry from the bunker's armory, Novak and the reawakened colonists launched a guerrilla campaign to reclaim their world from Kaitian occupation. They struck hard and fast, hitting military outposts, supply lines, and comm relays. He pulled up grainy footage captured by the colonists, showing their raids in action. Powered armor-clad humans stormed a Kaitian barracks, plasma rifles flaring. Alien soldiers scattered, yowling in panic, as the humans laid waste to their defenses. In another clip, Novak led a team in infiltrating a sprawling Kaitian supply depot. They planted charges on ammo dumps and fuel tanks, the explosions painting the night sky orange. "The Kaitian security forces were caught flat-footed," Anthony said. "For centuries they'd gotten soft, never anticipating the human threat could rise from the grave. Novak and his resistance fighters ran circles around them with hit-and-run strikes." Simpson highlighted one pivotal operation, a daring raid on a heavily fortified Kaitian research lab. Novak's team slipped past the perimeter defenses and fought their way into the heart of the facility. There they found the Kaitians had discovered a revolutionary new energy source. Anthony zoomed in on a hovering crystalline object, pulsing with blinding light. Novak downloaded the schematics for this stellar core tech and rigged the lab to blow. The blast crippled the Kaitians' R&D capabilities for years. On screen, the research center vanished in a miniature supernova, the shock waves flattening nearby structures. Emboldened by victories like this, the human insurgency gained momentum, Simpson said. Footage played of Novak and his commandos ambushing Kaitian leaders, leaving their smoldering convoy littering the streets. Of colonial hackers infiltrating Murloc's propaganda network, broadcasting messages of resistance. But Novak knew he'd need more than guerrilla tactics to truly free Kepler 452b. So he reached out to potential allies, Kaitian rebel factions who resisted Murloc's iron-fisted rule. Tentative at first, This alliance soon bore fruit, the resistance feeding Novak intel on vulnerable Cation targets. Anthony's voice grew heavy as he recounted the climactic battle. Utilizing the intel and support from their Cation rebel allies, Novak and the human strike force launched an all-out assault on Murloc's command compound. Plasma fire sizzled through the air as human exosuits clashed with Cation power armor in the blood-slicked corridors. The aging veteran pulled up helmet cam footage from the attacking forces. It showed Novak at the tip of the spear, his armor pitted and scorched, laying down a withering hail of blaster fire as he advanced. Cation bodies crumpled under the onslaught, the command post's defenses crumbling. Novak kicked down the blast doors to Murloc's inner sanctum with an amplified crash. The Cation admiral whirled from his tactical displays, fangs bared. "You just don't know when to stay dead, do you, ape?" "So we're finishing this," Novak growled, discarding his rifle and unsheathing a thrumming power blade. "Your time is done." The pair crashed together in a whirlwind of slashes and stabs, Novak's blade sparking against Murloc's force shield. The human landed a vicious kick to Murloc's knee, staggering him. Novak stabbed down, but Murloc caught his wrist. "Did you really think you'd won? That I wouldn't have a contingency?" The Cation sneered. "I've known about your kind since I found that damnable cryo chamber decades ago. If I can't have this world, neither will you." Murloc slammed his fist onto a console. A klaxon blared as a monotone voice announced the compound's self-destruct sequence had begun. The feline grinned savagely. "You're insane," Novak headbutted Murloc, cracking the Cation's helmet. "You'll kill everyone." Anthony's voice shook. "What happened next? It will be seared into my mind until the day I die." As the compound shook itself apart and the city burned, Novak made a choice. The same choice Jacob Thompson made all those centuries ago. He chose to give his life so that others might live. The footage showed Novak screaming a battle cry and tackling Murloc, sending them both hurtling off a collapsing catwalk into the inferno below. A burst of static, and the video feed cut out. The hall fell silent, every Casian transfixed. Anthony continued. "The blast wiped out the capital along with Novak and Murloc. In the aftermath, the resistance leader Zara took charge, guiding her people toward a new beginning free of tyranny, and the surviving human colonists prepared to depart Kepler 452b to honor their fallen and seek their destiny among the stars." You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.